Hello, mainstreamers and cinephiles and everybody in between. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
And Operation Silver Screen is a go.
Hello, welcome to Operation Silver Screen. This cinema-related operation has been created to clear our desks from stacks of open cases. And what are these cases? Well, even being the film lovers that we are, Bryant and I have a huge backlog of must-see films that we still need to experience. So each week we'll tackle a film that either one of us or both of us still need to see. We will then provide a debrief of our week's mission, giving our outlook on the film's popularity and significance, as well as provide our opinion on whether or not it's worth seeing and other fun insights. So we're starting off the new year, Bryant.
Yes.
Starting off our new year here at Operation Silver Screen. What did we tackle this week?
So with the new year, we try to start anew, and shame. Shame is a terrible thing to have. It can manifest guilt, bring about inner conflict, urge someone to make a podcast, and many other things. So it is a great day to see someone close to you shed that shame, which is how we are starting off this new year. Caitlyn, you have been cleansed. For now, you have seen both part 1 and part 2 of what is regarded as the greatest film of all time, The Godfather. How does it feel to be anew?
It feels good. It does feel good. I think I mentioned before when we did the first episode that this isn't a film that I was prolonging because I didn't want to watch it. This is a film that I've been wanting to watch for a long time, but between the length and just wanting to make sure that the conditions were right, I just kept putting it off. So I'm glad to finally have watched it.
Yes,
both of them.
Yeah, I'm glad for you to finally watch it. Now, when people ask me about this show and like, oh, I guess you guys aren't going to be doing Godfather, I'm like, well, Caitlyn really hasn't. Now I'm more proud. I'm like, yeah, this is my friend here, Caitlyn. She's seen Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, just saying. I have seen this film. This is my second time seeing this film. I saw this film, I think, when I was 18 or 19. So this was like when I was turning into that cinephile. Or not turning into cinephile. This is when I became a cinephile. Really, I started watching a lot of movies and started kind of becoming a cinephile. I said before on the show, like around 15, 16. About this time, 18, this is when I'm watching all the greats. When I was watching black and white films from the 60s. I was really diving in. So, of course, I had to watch Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, which I think I watched in 2 consecutive days.
Okay.
And actually, I think I watched another, I think it was the same weekend, I watched another like over 3-hour long movie, World on a Wire, which actually I think got turned into a mini series. And as we progress through the show, just want to let you guys know that there will be no spoilers for the first portion. When the spoilers do arrive, I'll make sure and go ahead and do you a little favor and tell you that they're about to arrive. So stick with us even if you haven't seen the film. So this film, of course, has a lot of critical acclaim. Everybody knows this. I've only met one person who did not know The Godfather. Like, just did not know that it existed. I played the music for them. They just looked at me blank, like, never. It still boggles my mind to this day how you just went through life and never heard of the movie The Godfather.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, she wasn't like a big movie person, but still, even if you've never seen a film in your life, you know The Godfather, but apparently not. So for those who don't know about The Godfather, it is a highly critically acclaimed film. It has a 9.0 on IMDb. It is number 4 in their top 250. It has a 96% critical rating and a 97% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which that's one of the times that the critics and audience pretty much agree on the film. This swept away at the Oscars. It won Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Robert De Niro, Best Director, Best Writing, Best Art Direction, and Best Music, and another 5 nominations. Caitlyn, what did you find for your critical acclaim?
Now, it's interesting that you say that because when it was released, it actually received a little bit of a mixed critical reception. Many criticized its pacing and its more convoluted plot, but the cinematography and performances were generally praised. It wasn't until later on that it started to receive a reevaluation, and that's when critics began to really appreciate it and laud it as one of, if not the greatest sequels of all time and one of the greatest films of all time. You mentioned the Academy Awards, but I also want to note that Coppola also won a DGA award for Best Director, and the screenplay won a WGA award for Best Drama adapted from another medium. DGA and WGA, as you know, are Director Guild of America and the Writers Guild of America. The film has also been cited on several of the American Film Institute's Best Of lists, and up until a couple months ago, it was also listed on Sight and Sound's Greatest Films of All Time list, but it was bumped off with the most recent poll. I know some people were a little upset about that. However, the first Godfather still remains on the list at number 12. It also, in 1993, it was selected for preservation for the U.S. National Film Registry from the Library of Congress. We've talked about a lot of these films already in the past. We go through a lot of those films on this podcast.
I know during the test screenings, it received mixed reception, which is why they went back and edit it. I'm not sure if they did any reshoots, but I know they said with the flashbacks, a lot of the audience kind of lost track of what was going on. I didn't know that I didn't know the final cut still received some mixed reception.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting because I know that Roger Ebert, obviously he's the big film critic. We talk about him a lot. He had originally given this, I think, 3 stars, and then he went back later and he said he still agrees with everything he said in his initial review, but he actually had a better appreciation and he really lauded the film later on when he reevaluated it.
Okay. Wait, sorry. I said mixed conception, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't think that's a word.
Misconception? I don't think that's right. I didn't even notice that. The mixed conception.
Yeah, no, mixed conception is not a word. My apologies. Backtrack on that real quick. I said, and it's funny because I watched Glass Onion over the weekend, and that's one of the things that gets brought up in that movie is people making up words to sound intelligent, and that's not what I was trying to do with sound intelligent. I just mixed up. I was using like misconception and I still can't think of the word I was trying to think
Reception?
of. Reception. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Mixed reception, not mixed conception. Anyway.
Well, I think we get what you mean.
Yeah, everybody's got it. But man, people will call you out on that. I was like, I'm going to see the comments. Mixed conception. Really?
I've done that a lot with this podcast. I've noticed, like, what am I saying? That's not the word.
Now, again, this film, most people know The Godfather and know the premise of The Godfather. Maybe not The Godfather Part II so much. So The Godfather Part II picks up pretty much, not right away after the first one. It's about 7 years after the first movie. The Corleone family has... at the end of the movie, it was still this great empire, and it's still growing. And Michael Corleone, now in charge of the Corleone family, now the Don, he is now setting sights on the gambling industry and casinos within Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, of course, with his power reaching, he starts to become, I guess, not really so much corrupted, but starts to lose focus on what's important. And of course, if you're going to be making big moves like that, a lot of people are going to come at you from all sides, both political and rival businesses and families. Let's get right into it. Caitlyn, what did you think of this movie?
It's kind of like I have to think about it in 2 ways, right? Like one's on its own and then the other one in relation to The Godfather Part I. I know that this is generally considered to be better than the original, but I don't know that I felt that personally. I think that there are things I really liked about this film, but I feel that the first one worked better for me. The storytelling in the first one worked better for me. The plot in the first one worked better for me. So I won't say I was disappointed, but I was expecting to be a little bit more blown away than what I was. I really wasn't blown away at all, to be honest, but it wasn't a bad film. I didn't dislike it. It's just when you compare it to the first one, that expectation was a little too much, I think.
Wow. I don't even know how to begin. I guess I'll just say I agree with you.
Okay.
No, don't get me wrong. I want to start off saying I really like this film. I love this film. This is one of the greatest films out there. Definitely one of the greatest sequels out there. or the greatest sequel. But I may mention on the first Godfather that I only gave it an A+ because of this film. And that's because at first, the first time that I watched this, I really was blown away. And this was, for a while, like my S tier movie. And I also, like when, I have my favorite films, but every time that I mention my favorite film, I also mention this is my favorite film personally, but what I think is one of the greatest made films out there is Godfather Part II, which I still think is up for a debate, though. I think Godfather 1 was better. I think Godfather 1, comparing the two to show what I thought of this part, I think the first one was a lot tighter. And this one, I liked a lot of it, but story-wise, I felt it wasn't completed. Or like it was so much of an epic, but because it combined two epic stories, and I mean epic not like the adjective, but like as like the type of story that it is, it when it skipped time and things as epics do, because it had like two of them, it felt like they were stretching both out. So sometimes we had like this story A or conflict A here, and then all of a sudden we're in conflict B there, which I get, but I feel like we need a little bit more in between. But this film is, I've said it a couple times with a lot of movies. The last one was Saving Private Ryan. This is a masterclass in its technical aspect and both acting as well. Everybody's giving it all. Everybody's giving great performances, both in the flashbacks and the present day. Al Pacino is a great actor. Really, he's fantastic in this. I think his role as well is one of the most interesting protagonists within cinema. It's one of the few times that we actually get a true anti-villain. Usually you just see the anti-hero or problematic hero, but this I think is like an actual anti-villain. And those are usually hard to come by. Especially because they try to redeem him so much at the end that they just end up turning into an anti-hero or a hero anyway. But this keeps the anti-villain going throughout.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And with the character of Michael Corleone, something I didn't mention in the synopsis is that we do have the parallel story, kind of what I was talking about the two epics. You have the flashback of Vito Corleone, which I think these two movies could have been separate movies. I think if they had planned it and they got the green light, you could have really went with just a Vito Corleone story, a prequel. We could have had a prequel instead of Part 3. Though I can't talk too much trash about Part 3 because I never actually watched it, nor do I really plan to. I think also with this film, what makes it great is that the way it ends, it's a conclusive story. That's why I never watched Part 3, because I think this is conclusive. This had enough to say. I never actually needed more. So I never wanted to ruin what this film and the film previously had created.
My problem with the parallel with Vito's story is that having seen now a lot of like these gangster mobster properties, the story itself felt too simple. Like it felt like something that I could infer. I feel that even if, which is what I thought originally when I started this film, that they were going to start with that flashback with Vito as a child, and then I thought that was going to be the only flashback. And I feel like with that one flashback, I could have inferred his whole entire story without it actually having to show me that entire story.
God dang it, Caitlyn. I agree with you again. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, his flashback is a simple gangster story, which, I don't want to fault the movie so much on because it was the pioneer of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've seen it so much that his flashback didn't really bring anything that I haven't seen before. And kind of looking at it, if I was to look at it from the lens of back then, it still is a simple story. I do agree the first part is great. Like the first part is, even to today, can be seen as a bit more original than the rest of it. But it is, I mean, I got it. Like, so Vito Corleone, he came to America on his own, and then he built an empire through fronting olive oil. That could have been done in like 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah. And then we could have focused more on Michael's plot, which is a little bit more of a complex plot. There's a little bit more going on there.
Yes, and I see the parallel that they were trying to make. And with flashbacks, I think, if you want to tell two stories, I think that's all right. I think it's all right to tell two stories. I don't think the flashbacks always need to completely compare, contrast, or juxtapose the present story. But I think in this sense, when they were trying to do it, I don't think it really succeeded. I don't see too much the parallel between Vito and Michael, because I think with Vito's, there's not much complexity to it. So it's not like they're showing him to be, I guess, I don't know. Again, I think they needed to show a little bit more, which I think two separate films would have been great. And I think you would have been able to compare those two even more if both of them had more time.
I kind of agree. For me, though, I think that some of the parallels and juxtapositions were a little bit on the nose, like especially with like the family dynamics. Like, oh, they're gonna switch to him holding the baby, and he's talking about family. Then in Michael's, he's talking about family. It felt a little bit too clean almost. There wasn't really enough depth there for me to really appreciate it.
I get that. One thing also with Michael Corleone's story is that it's a great story, and I wish we did get more time with it, because I really like stories with a protagonist downfall, and that's like when I look back at this film, that's why I always consider this film so great. My idea of this film and how I remember it from the first time that I watched it, that's what my mind was mostly focusing on. So watching it again and seeing that it wasn't so much of that, I feel like there's a missed opportunity there.
I agree. I felt like I was a little bit disappointed by that downfall story. I felt like I never really saw him truly hit rock bottom or even come close to it, really. And so it was a little bit, I wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, I think he hits that rock bottom at the end, but I think it kind of, it wraps up at the end pretty quickly.
Yeah. I don't think he ever really hit rock bottom.
I don't think he hit rock bottom to justify what he did, but I think at the end, without going into spoilers, I guess we can talk about it more with spoilers.
Yeah,
I think he was at the bottom.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that then, because I don't think I agree with that. I will say I did like how this one started, because, you know, part one started with the wedding, and then this one starts with a funeral. So it kind of, for me anyway, it kind of, you know, it really set the tone of the different films. The first one is a story about a rise to power, and this one's about a descent. And it kind of has like that kind of Shakespearean type of feel to it as well. So I really liked that he chose to start with a funeral.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was looking more at comparing the wedding to because right after that, we do get another event. And one thing I thought that they were trying to do is that they didn't want to start both movies with a similar event. So that was to kind of break it. But I do see what you're saying with the funeral. That is pretty cool. I think also there's another comparison that could be made when you're comparing the wedding to I'm not even sure what kind of event it is. I think it's the son's birthday. But they have a huge event.
It was his first communion.
Oh, okay. His first communion. Yes, that's right. Which, is that a Catholic thing?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I got it. And I think it's cool because when you look at both of those events, the wedding, man, was a lot about family and everybody coming together and everybody having this great time. And Don Corleone, he's giving out favors because it's his daughter's wedding, but Michael Corleone, this is all business to him. And I think the film sets up the issue that Michael Corleone has put himself in, which is he's not thinking about the family as much, and he's thinking way too much about the business. And I think that can be seen when you compare both the wedding and the communion.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't notice that when I was watching, but I would be interested in going back and seeing that again from the first film.
Now, the family is always the big thing. It's the big thing in these two movies. It's what's going to provide. We talked about it during the first one. It influenced decades of gangster films and TV shows because it's all about family. It's even inspired Fast and the Furious, apparently. How did you feel about the family aspect in this one?
Hold on, I'm trying to think without spoilers. There's some. I'll kind of touch a little bit on that with spoilers, because. Yeah, I'm going to wait for spoilers to really touch on that, but I feel like it was well done in Michael's story. And I think one thing, though, that I wish that I had seen more of that was in the first film was that I feel that the characters were given more outside of Michael. I felt like you had more dynamic characters in the first film. Of course, like, I love Sonny. Sonny was my favorite in the first film, and now he's, of course, he spoilers for the first film, he's not in this one. But I would have liked to see a little bit more characters really coming in their own and having time to shine in this one, but I understand that it really was a character study for Michael. Connie, too, I thought that I wanted to see the most of. I think for me, one of my favorite parts in the film was the relationship between Michael and Connie and their dynamics, and I think that that's something I would have liked to have seen more of. And it's also, I thought that it touched on something for her that, she says some things to him about their relationship and the nature of their relationship, and it kind of makes you think about how it would be being a daughter in this family and being particularly the oldest daughter and have your little brother being the Don. And so I feel like that was something that I just would have liked to see more of.
Yeah, she really only has like 2 big scenes in this movie, and they're some of the best scenes. And yeah, I would have liked to see more with that. There were a lot of characters that I would have liked to see a little bit more, but that's one thing that we both said, is that we would like to see more in this film, which is funny because it's a 3-hour and 20-minute film. It's funny that there's actual gaps to it, but again, you're running 2 epics side by side. You have a lot of returning characters. Pretty much, there's no one new introduced in Michael Corleone's story except for the Roth character, who is a rival kingpin, which I loved his performance from the actor.
There was also another character, Pentagelli, that I don't believe was a returning character. Originally, they wanted Clemenza, who was in the first film, to return and kind of fill that role, but then when the actor couldn't continue on, they had this new character, the Pentagelli character, come in and replace that character role, which for me, I could tell that's what they did, because the whole time I'm watching this with this character, I'm like, this is kind of a random character. It kind of seems kind of shoot in. And then when I heard that it was originally supposed to be Clemenza, it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, especially when you look at how important he was to Michael, and we're just meeting him.
Yeah.
And also, the actor's name is Lee Strasberg, who played Roth. I really liked his performance. He was one of my favorite characters introduced in this, because he is trying to kind of be this father figure and mentor to Michael, but he obviously has some ulterior motives. And that is one thing that the movie keeps you guessing throughout the film, is like, what's Michael thinking in his head right now, and who's actually after him and who's not, and which of these moves is an actual move of his, or if it's him just thinking about a couple steps ahead.
I don't know that I fully agree with you with Roth. I thought that, like I said, I wanted more. I wanted more from that character. He never felt very dynamic to me or very interesting. But I think the performance was good, and that actor in particular, he is a well-known acting instructor as well. So
the other character that was added in here, I want to know your opinion, is Robert De Niro as Vito Corleone.
I think this is the youngest I've ever seen De Niro in a film.
Yes, before the second for me would be Taxi Driver. But he even looks younger in this than Taxi Driver.
Yeah, he does.
Like, I know he is younger, but I mean, he looks a lot younger.
I think that he put on a good performance, and I mean, so I was a little taken aback that Brando wasn't in this film. Brando was asked to return. He didn't want to do it. At some point, he was going to have a cameo, but then because of some issues with Paramount and some other issues, he didn't show up for that. But I feel like it was a little off-putting for me at first because, as a Brando fan, I wanted to see Brando. And Brando at that time, obviously in The Godfather Part 1, like, that's a lot of makeup. Brando wasn't really looking that old when he filmed The Godfather Part 1. So he still could have, I think, played a younger version of Vito in 1974. But I think that De Niro did a good job. I think that he had mannerisms and kind of this vibe that was reminiscent of Brando's performance as Vito. So I didn't mind it as it went on.
I think too that Marlon Brando could have easily played this, given the Hollywood treatment. Like you said, actually you just had to take off the makeup, add a little bit of blush, and give him some bangs, and he would have been good to go play younger Vito.
The bangs.
I did like Robert De Niro as Vito, though I wish he kind of said more. I get that he was a very quiet person. Actually, in the beginning, he's almost a mute character. Even though he likes to sing, that's the first time that we actually hear him say any words is when he's singing, which never comes back in the story. He never sings again. Thought he was singing again. He never does. There were sometimes, though, I was watching this, and I'm like, okay, so you're just going to sit in the corner and just stare and nod your head? Like, is that...
Yeah.
So that was, but I think he still gave a great performance. I don't know who else was running against him, but it makes sense that he got the Oscar, and I think it was deserved. But again,
yeah, I think part of that was more of a writing issue than De Niro. I think his performance was good.
And the reason they actually went with Robert De Niro is because he actually auditioned for the first Godfather and didn't get it. He was going to play a very minor character, and while writing this film, Francis Ford thought, man, you know what? I want to bring that guy back because he also watched Mean Streets. Who? Francis Ford Coppola. Oh, I heard you say it different earlier, so I was like, should I say it? All right. You know what? Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola, he said, you know what? I want to bring Robert De Niro back. He also saw him in Mean Streets and remembered his audition. He's like, okay, I'll bring him back to play Vito Corleone. So Brando wasn't planned to even do that, but I agree. I think they could have let him be in there, though he probably wouldn't have accepted it.
De Niro too is just really known for these roles now. Like between this, Goodfellas, The Irishman. He's a big Scorsese actor, of course, but Scorsese and obviously gets a lot of influence from The Godfather. So it was kind of interesting to see, that kind of start with this kind of role for De Niro.
Yes, it's almost, he even does parodies of his characters now. Of his gangster characters. And it's funny you brought up Scorsese, because he was actually Francis Ford Coppola requested for him to direct this film. He didn't want to direct it himself. He just wanted to be a producer. But Paramount said, no, we want you to go ahead and direct and write. So he went ahead along with it. But yeah, Scorsese almost directed this film.
Yeah, and he was just an up-and-comer at that point. Like, this is long before Goodfellas. Paramount won Coppola over by letting him do the parallel story and having that creative freedom, and also giving him pretty hefty paycheck as well, so.
Oh, yeah, very, very hefty paycheck. They gave him a limousine for the last film, which I would be kind of upset. I was like, now I got to go out and get a chauffeur. I was like, I have no idea where to park this thing. I was like, I live in yeah, that just seems like it's like getting an exotic fish or like some kind of exotic pet for for your birthday. And actually, Martin Scorsese went on 2 years later to direct Taxi Driver.
Oh, was that only 2 years later?
Yeah, and Mean Streets, he directed Mean Streets with Robert De Niro that Francis Ford Coppola saw, and that's why he wanted Robert De Niro, and I guess that's also why he wanted Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen Mean Streets. I've just seen Taxi Driver. And, of course, some other Martin Scorsese films. Goodfellas, we both seen.
As far as the filmmaking and production goes, there was a lot I really liked. Obviously, the color grading and the cinematography was amazing. I love the vibrancy of the colors. It's very warm-toned. Yeah, I really like the colors, and I really like the art direction. I was very happy to hear that it got an Oscar for the art direction. That was something that, while the first film had amazing art direction, I think that this even took it a step up. So that was something I was happy to see. I think that one of the complaints I had for the first one, which was a very minor nitpick, it didn't really affect my ranking of that film, but I had noted that the sound design and Foley were a little bit off to me, and I think that in this film that was definitely made up for. I think there was a great use of sound design in a particular scene in the beginning where there's this really idyllic family movement with some nice music going on, and then suddenly it cuts out and you hear the gunshots, and I thought that was an amazing use of sound design.
Well, like I said, it's a masterclass in the technical aspect along with the acting. I do think, though, this is a very small nitpick. I think the framing was off sometimes. I think some things were cut off from the screen that shouldn't have been, or they came into the screen awkwardly. I know this is like a very this movie. There's a lot going on the screen usually. Like there's just, I mean, one thing. There's a lot of meetings in this film. There's a lot of people closing doors. So I understand, but there were other times that things just kind of seemed cut off from the screen.
Speaking of closing doors, one thing that I noticed of this film is that it still falls to a lot of like sequelisms. There's a moment where Michael closes the door on Kay, and it's supposed to be reminiscent of the first film when he closes the door on her. There's a moment where Vito says that he's going to make him an offer he can't refuse. So there's a lot of references back to the original, and some of them were a little bit too on the nose for me.
That one was way too on the nose for me. The offer, can't refuse. I was actually, while I was watching, I said, "Oh, he said the thing."
Yeah. Also, I feel like they should have like limited the use of oranges in this film. I felt like there were oranges in every single scene, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't mean anything at this point.
Yeah, no, I was like, okay, so yeah, of course something bad is about to happen. That's what every other scene is about. So yeah, it did. As much as I love the oranges, after a while, I was like, okay, now the oranges are just there to be there. I was like, I don't know if this is to be like if it's a red herring now, but then there were so many oranges that I just. Like, maybe that was a sponsorship that they got from the Orange Grove in Florida.
Also, how was Michael eating that oranges? He was eating an orange like an apple.
Oh, yeah, that's a power move right there.
That's true. I feel like in general, this film, the pace wasn't working for me as much as it did the first. I felt like I definitely felt the runtime in this one. Whereas the first one, I felt like it blew by so fast.
I didn't feel the runtime in this. We talked recently that I usually don't feel the runtime too much over 3-hour movies, except for one particular film, Fanny and Alexander.
Maybe you're not ADHD then.
Yeah, maybe not.
I wonder if that's why. Maybe that's the proof then.
Maybe that's just the time that I hyper focus and able to get it out. I mean, I pass out right after the film. Like I just faint, just shut down. Like I gave it all.
Up last night? How late? When did you finally finish the film last night?
Oh, it wasn't late at all. I finished it around 11:30 at night.
Okay, I think you finished it about the same time as I did because I had to pause it.
It was interesting to see that once again we both kind of had the same opinion of the film, especially like we both have a complex opinion about this.
Yeah.
Now this is a influential movie, of course, for a lot of the same reasons that the first one was. Would you like to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I was trying to look for things that were different from the first film. One of the things that I noticed just from the get-go was this film brings up the idea that if a child grows up, he's going to seek revenge. A child who like had their parents killed by like the mob or like the gang, if they grow up, they're going to seek revenge. So you have to kill the child. That is a theme that is, well, the complete basis of the anime 91 Days, and also this comes up in Boardwalk Empire as well. So I liked that idea and that theme, and I think that's something that was influential for later works. Also, another thing that I saw that this had influence of was that this was actually the first major motion picture to use Part 2 in its title. The studio originally didn't want to do that because they thought it would kind of confuse the audiences, but Coppola said, no, I want to name it Part 2, so it kind of became a more common practice of using numbered sequels.
I don't think the use of Roman numerals would be more confusing to the audience than Part 2. I think they got that concept. I think the only ones who'd be confused is, what is Part II?
Yeah, I think they said that the audience would want something new and not just a continuation. But I'm like, well, isn't that what a sequel is?
Yeah, so what does Godfather 2 mean? Like of course you would think that's that makes no sense.
Godfather Electric Boogaloo would just be a whole new story.
Or, you go the alien route and go with Godfathers.
Oh, yeah.
Also, with what you said, the child growing up to kill somebody. A film came out a year before this. Actually, I just saw it in theaters. Lady Snowblood, which was the influence for Kill Bill. That's another movie where a child grows up and they seek vengeance upon the ones who did their family wrong. That movie, though, however, that's the whole focus. This one is like it's just kind of some business he's got to take care of.
Yeah, it set it up to be more of a focus than what it ended up being, which kind of threw me off.
Honestly, I would have been cool if they didn't do it. Like, all right, he moved on. He thought about his family. He just was like, all right, I got this. Like, I don't need that satisfaction. Like, I already got it through completing all of this.
See, me liking the generational stories, I thought that it was going to tie back in somehow to Michael's story, and then it didn't. And so that's what I think disappointed me. Like, I didn't think that Vito was ever going to get his revenge, but I thought it was somehow going to tie back to the family in Michael's story.
I think that would have been too much of a coincidence to all of a sudden come in. But, like, I do like those stories.
Yeah, I think if you wrote it a certain way, like, not, like, completely on the nose, but if you were careful of how you wrote it in.
Influence I saw, and I was thinking about the whole time I was watching this film, or actually a couple scenes that made me really think of this TV show, was Peaky Blinders. And I think other gangster shows are inspired by this. We talked about the first one with the family. But so much in Peaky Blinders I really saw with Michael making political moves, him being a veteran in Peaky Blinders. Thomas Shelby is a veteran. Actually, him and his two other brothers are veterans, and they use that in court as well. It comes up in a couple times in the TV show when he's trying to get his way from a political official. He brings up that he's a decorated veteran. Also, the meetings I see used a lot in Peaky Blinders. You know, it's not only the meetings, but him kind of delivering some very cold lines and some very sometimes inspiring lines, which I think Al Pacino does really well in this film. Is during the meetings he has like this subtle way of dominating the room. You know, not just because of his position, but just the way he positions other individuals, the way that he's relaxed during the whole time. He's very he's very much that alpha in the scenario.
Yeah, I think my favorite moment personally was another moment with Connie. She's wanting to go off and marry this guy, and he said, you know, if you do this, you'll disappoint me. And it was such a great threat, such a great thinly veiled threat, and it was just, that line was just really good to me.
Yeah, like I said, those two scenes with Connie were great, and that's one of the great parts of that first scene. I think this also had an influence on the any means necessary character that a lot of people fall for. But I think this is a character we'll talk about more during the spoilers. It's kind of a double edge, because I think people kind of miss the point of these characters, that they're not to be fawned over, that they're not to be idolized. And we talked about this recently just between the two of us and Coleman as well, with like Al Pacino's other character, Scarface. That's not a character to be idolized. You look at that character and he has a lot of problems. Like, there's no reason you want to be like Tony Montana. The dude couldn't even keep up. He specifically said, first rule of drug dealing, don't do your own product. And then he just sniffed up a line right away. And another influence, and kind of goes in significance as well, so used as the blending point here, is that this is regarded as one of the best sequels out there. This kind of set the bar for sequels. This is what you want a sequel to be, even though, like we said, there are a couple. It doesn't have sequelitis, but it does kind of sequel tropes with repeating lines or mirroring images. But for the most part, this is a sequel that builds upon the original story.
Yeah, to kind of transition on to why this was a significant film, as far as its Oscar significance, it was the first sequel to ever win Best Picture. And it's one of two now to ever win Best Picture, because the other one was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. So those are the only two. Also, just for a little bit of other Oscar significance, Brando and De Niro are the only actors to win Oscars for playing the same character.
Oh, okay. I read that fun fact, but I didn't fully understand what it meant. But hearing you repeat it, okay, I got it. That's cool. And this sequel was not planned. I think that's another thing that helped out this film. I think that's what keeps it from getting that sequelitis. Also, At this point in history, being 1974, there wasn't a lot of sequels, so sequelitis wasn't too much of a thing yet. But this was not planned. Like a part 2 was not in the books, and they actually had to convince Francis Ford Coppola to go ahead and make a sequel. And yes, this is adapted, but they didn't take too much from the book. They could have probably taken more, but again, this is a sequel that was not planned, and they didn't. I wouldn't say that they didn't have much to go off of, but they used half adaptation, half making their own story.
Now, question for you. Would you say that this is your favorite sequel of all time? Like, if you were to say, or would you say that this is the best sequel of all time? Would you agree with that?
That is a tough one. There's so many good sequels out there, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, granted, there's a lot that are horrible. I don't know. That is a tough one. Because no, honestly, I'll have to say Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Because Terminator 2, it's almost a completely different film, but it builds from so much of the original, and it expands it into a whole nother level.
Yeah. I'd say top of my head, I'd say Empire Strikes Back and Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, Mad Max Fury Road, yeah. I would give you that one. That's another thing. When it comes to sequels, comparing sequels, there's two questions you have to ask yourself: is how much better is it than the first, and then how much of it is a great film on its own. So when comparing it to other sequels, it's kind of going up against. They're kind of running two contests.
Yes, agreed.
Now, would I say, like, is Terminator 2 a better movie than this one? No, but I mean, it kind of actually comes close. But as far as like a sequel and building upon an original, I would probably say Terminator 2. There's some other films too I'm missing, like you said, Mad Max Fury Road. We can go down the list on those. I know a lot of people say Spider-Man 2, though I don't think Spider-Man 2 is that great of a film on its own. I mean, yeah, it is better and it builds upon the first, but again, that second portion of it, I don't think that it's that great on its own.
Yeah.
And I will never understand why Dr. Octopus threw a car at Peter Parker just thinking that he was Peter Parker.
Yeah. So, as far as other significances that this had, I did note that there was a lot of Italian spoken in this film. Almost all of De Niro's dialogue is in Sicilian Italian. And in fact, this actor only speaks 8 words of English in The Godfather Part II. And I'm not going to go too far into detail of this. If you want to hear more about this, you can go back to our Godfather Part 1 episode. But I did think this was significant because of the perception of Italian Americans at the time and what these films did for that community.
I think, too, is that this is something that couldn't have been done so much during the first film, is having a large portion of the movie being in a foreign language for American viewers with an American-made movie, because the studio most likely would have thought, hey, no one's want to go into the theater to read. So I don't see, like, if Francis Ford Coppola said, hey, we should do this in the first one, they would have been with it. But since, they were kind of giving him everything to do the sequel, they allowed him to do it. Because actually, it wasn't until last year, really, that the studios and distributors started realizing that, they don't mind so much reading subtitles anymore. With Squid Games being so popular as it was, and the year before with Parasite being as popular as it was, subtitles aren't so much of an issue. Now,
I feel like too, it's partly a generational thing as well. I feel like the younger generations are more likely to have subtitles.
That's the other thing I was going to say. I wonder too how much back then the audience was willing to read subtitles. Because it may, like you said, it may only have now been a new thing. I think it's also because digitally, like, we have the option of subtitles. Like, I don't think on VHS we had the option of subtitles.
No.
Yeah, so that, because I mean, I watch subtitles with English speaking now, but that's just because of my hearing.
I use subtitles for everything. I get upset when they don't have it.
Who would you go ahead and recommend this movie for? The general audience or the cinephiles, somewhere in between, some other class of mafia or something?
Yeah, that one. No, I'll recommend this to cinephiles. I think I mentioned that I would recommend the first Godfather to a general audience, but I think because of the length and the pacing being a little bit slower, I don't know that I would recommend this one quite as quickly as the first one to a general audience.
I wouldn't recommend this one as quickly to a general audience either. However, if they do have an interest in gangster films, I would say, yeah, go ahead and watch this. You're going to enjoy it. Like this is going to hit a lot of beats for you if you like gangster films.
Like me.
I think too, like with this movie having a lot of different plot points, this almost feels like different arcs of a TV show.
Yeah, I agree.
So again, I think if you are into gangster films, like this is going to hit a lot of things for you within a short amount of time. Like I said, guys, we're going to go ahead and do you guys a favor. You know, I always like this movie. I've learned to always do favors for people, you know, pay it back forward. And we're going to go ahead and get into the spoiler discussion. So if you have not seen this movie, go ahead, pause, watch the movie, come back. If you don't care, then yeah, sure, go ahead, proceed forward. But now is the time for spoilers. And Caitlyn, I want to start off with the spoiler. I don't know if that surprised you, but when Michael gave his son Anthony the order to kill Fredo on the fishing boat, I thought that was pretty hardcore.
Yeah,
You didn't hear what I said.
What? To give Anthony, that was it. I mean, because Anthony was the kid. It wasn't actually Anthony that killed him. I knew that.
Okay.
I was like, wait a second. But, yeah, Fredo's death was... I don't know that it was surprising. I feel like... So going back to what we talked about earlier about this being like his... You know, him hitting rock bottom. I don't think that it really did. I think that this film was more focused on the descent of the family and his perception of family and his connection to the family. But I don't think it was his personal rock bottom downfall.
Oh, okay. In that sense, then I agree with you. I don't think it was his personal rock bottom. I would think we had to see him lose his empire to hit that rock bottom. But I think in which the film is telling the story and what they're putting the importance of the family, which is a huge basis for this property, I think it did hit the rock bottom family-wise because he lost everyone. Except
Connie. Well, I know he probably lost Connie too after Fredo.
Yeah, Fredo disappears. Her ex-husband disappears. Come on.
Yeah.
Which I felt bad for Fredo. Like, yeah... you end up you hate Fredo at some point, but at the same time at least for me, I felt bad because it was like this, like it's like how much of this is actually conscious? Like it's like a clumsy person coming into your house and they break something. Like, dude, it's all right. I don't see the need to kill Fredo, even if I was the hitman who was wanting to kill Fredo for a while. Al, there was another scene when he's looking at Fredo, he's like, I wonder if he's going to do it or if I should do it right now. Because when they're out on the fishing boat, I couldn't pull the trigger. I'm like, why did you come out here with me? You know that your brother is most likely going to have you killed. So you're going to come out with me in the middle of a lake to go fishing? Like, it's just like, he is a bit slow, as the movie depicts him. So it's just like, I don't know, that doesn't feel right. And I mean, Fredo did lie to him, because Fredo says that he didn't know it was going to be a hit, and there's no way he didn't know that it was going to be a hit, because it was either him or somebody else that drew the drapes back. So there's only one reason to do that, and like to open the place up. So I don't see how Fredo didn't know that it was going to be a actual hit. Though I'm wondering if Fredo was the one that killed the hitman that failed.
I don't know. I doubt it. But I do think it was interesting just the dynamic of being, like I said, I mentioned of Connie, it's kind of, you get glimpses of how hard it must be having your younger brother be this figure in your family and being the one to take care of you and tell you what to do. So I think they did that pretty well with Fredo, because that would be difficult, I would think.
Yeah, I really like that conversation. That's an iconic scene right there, especially when he's saying, I'm smart. I've seen that.
He's not, but...
Yeah, no. This is something that gets brought up in Peaky Blinders too, because Thomas Shelby, the one that's really running this family, he's the middle child. He's not he's the second oldest, which is an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, Boardwalk Empire slightly touches on that as well, because Nakeev is the younger child, the younger brother.
Okay, yeah, and it's a very interesting power dynamic with siblings. Like, I couldn't imagine taking orders from Devin. Now, granted, there's there's a bigger age gap, I think, with Devin and I than them, because I mean, Devin's 9 years younger than me, so I think that's definitely a huge difference. But I think there's like a 4-year difference between them or something.
I'm not sure.
Also, with Fredo, the one, like, the facepalm I had in the movie is when he's at the place when they're at the club with the Superman. And the senator asked me, like, how did you find this place? Oh, Johnny told me all about it. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, Johnny, the guy that I just met. Yeah, he told me about this place but before we first met. What? And he says it multiple times. And even Al Pacino just looks like I already knew it was you, but did you really have to, like, you just put it all out there. Like, there was nothing, like, there's no need for, like, a detective or anything. You just threw it out there. Like, that wasn't even like a reveal or a twist. It's just like, okay.
I mean, I liked the element too that he wanted him to live and be okay as long as their mother was living, because that, I think, did show that there is still this kind of sense of connection and conscientiousness to the family. But I mean, it's the same as, I think that's kind of a little bit how Vito's story kind of comes back in, is that when you have these like violence and betrayal, like, it's always going to come back around. And I think Michael knew that if he left Fredo alive, like, it was going to come back around eventually. It was just going to happen again.
Yeah, but you could have put Fredo somewhere else and just not have him anywhere near you, and I think he would have been fine. And actually, that's something I would have liked to see in
I don't know.
That's something I would like to see in Vito Corleone's story, is how he would handle a situation like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a good parallel, is to show how he puts the family above and he makes a different decision. But we don't really, his story is pretty clean. I think that's the kind of the issue with the parallel, is that his story is real clean. Like, it's a nice, smooth comeuppance.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't the only family member he loses. He loses his wife. I don't know. She also goes out on a fishing trip. I don't know if that, like, guy just keeps coming back and picks up people to go fishing. Which, that's one scene that has always stuck with me. That's one of my favorite movie scenes, is the scene of her abortion confession. I absolutely love that scene. Like, that's just that's just such an impactful scene, and it's so powerful what she's saying, and like how she's just digging it into him by revealing that it was a son, knowing that that's what he wanted so much of. But I think it's another portion of the movie that shows that this is not a character to be idolized. He clearly results to, not clear, he immediately, well, not immediately, he gives it some time, he brews it over, but he does go into domestic abuse and does strike his wife. Again, showing that he's not so much the family person that he really justifies himself to be. I think also with him wanting a son also shows his priorities, because he wants a son. He wants somebody to take his family business, though it could also be him trying to mirror his father's life, which had 3 boys and 1 girl. But I think it is a lot of him wanting a successor as well, just in case that his oldest becomes a Fredo or something.
Yeah, it's about that legacy. I think that this scene for me just showed me how good of an actor Pacino is, because you can see that realization in his face of how, when he's taking in this confession and understanding the implications of it all. And I thought that was phenomenal acting. And also just with the emphasis that is held on family, like, an abortion really would be the ultimate act of betrayal. And I think it shows that very well.
His micro expressions are fantastic in this scene. Like, you really see, and it doesn't hit him in just a way that, oh, now he's sad. No, you can tell in his eyes that there's a lot of thoughts going through his head. I like the way too that he just shuts the door on her that one time. I thought he was going to be like, all right, son, go ahead and kiss your mother goodbye. I thought there was going to be some kind of mutual respect there for the mother of your children. But no, he shuts that door right on her slowly too, just looking at her the whole time.
For me, that was too much of a sequelism for me to like it.
I didn't realize that, especially with so many closing and opening doors here. Like, that whole thinking about the beginning.
No, but it was specifically at the end final with her closing it on her. Like, that was the most, I think for me, the most iconic scene in the first Godfather. And so to have that again in the second one, I was like, okay, that's a sequelism.
Oh, I didn't see it the same way. I saw him differently, but I can see how
especially
you saw
with the slow close, because it's specifically a slow close.
He's just cold like that.
I think one juxtaposition in this film that I liked with the Vito and Michael story towards the end is you finally see Vito getting revenge for his father, but more importantly, his mother as well, against the Don in Italy. And then immediately after, you see the death of Michael's mother. So I kind of like that juxtaposition with motherhood and kind of that win and loss.
Yeah. Like I said, I could have. I mean, I didn't really need it. It was cool. It was interesting to see it all wrap up. Especially, you know, I think usually in movies and other properties, seeing the old character that you want to exact revenge on, you just like I don't need this anymore. Even Avatar: The Last Airbender did that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree it wasn't needed. I don't think a lot of Vito's background was needed, but it was one of the juxtapositions I thought was well done. But I will say that Don Ciccio and his death was comedic to me. Same with Roth's death. I thought some of these deaths were a little funny. I think they're a little tiny bit overacted by the one being killed.
I didn't have so much a problem with Roth's Don Zeno's. Which one was he? Don Zeno? Was he the one Vito Corleone killed?
Don Ciccio. Don Ciccio was the one in the beginning who killed Vito's parents.
Okay, yeah. I like the way that he killed him though. Just taking a knife and just straight up like just gutting him, like nothing clean about it.
I mean, I liked it. It just was a little bit comedic for me.
My issue was the people in the car with the guns took too long to get out.
Yeah.
They could have easily set up some security right after and prevented some damage. The ending of this movie kind of mirrors the original a bit with taking out the final players, though while before he was taking out the head of the family, it was a necessity for his family's safety. Here he's doing it all just to wipe away all of his enemies. Like, he's going out of his way. Like, Fredo didn't necessarily, you could have probably found another way without killing Fredo. I think
disagree.
If you completely isolate him and he has no way of like your business or knowing where you're at, I don't think it would have been that easy for him to do another assassination. I think
if it didn't establish in Vito's story that it's always going to come back around, and that's a theme in other gangster films too, that it's always going to come back around. So you have to do what you got to do. So that, I think, is why he had to.
I think so too, but I think at a point you have to accept that, all right, this is going to come back around. Do I want to prepare for when this comes back around, or do I want to spare my brother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's the big thing, is that it's not just anybody, it's his brother, and it's also somebody that is not just your brother, but he's your family. He means a lot to other people in your family that you supposedly care for, such as Connie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think that it wouldn't have made sense if he just did something else.
And I think too that he's just throwing people in situations like his bodyguard gets killed and he doesn't care about the bodyguard at all, who is kind of like a Bond villain henchman. He doesn't even have a name, which I like. I like how his assassination gets thwarted with, he just has the pillow over that dude and he just gets lit up as soon as they walk in. But with Roth, I mean, there was no way the guy was going to survive after killing Roth. And he knew that, so he was just throwing people all over the place. I did like how Frank went out. I like how Tom Hagen visited him and he put that idea in his head and let him know, like, hey, you kill yourself, your family's going to be all right. That was really cool. Speaking of Tom, I really like Tom still. Tom is still one of my favorite characters in this.
I wish he was in that more. I wish there was more for him, though.
Yes.
Because I do really like him as well.
One thing I like about one thing that I think really good sequels do is putting focus on other characters, which works and doesn't work sometimes. sometimes it is sequelitis, like you're trying to give way too much to your side characters that the movie just feels bloated and convoluted. But I think there's other films and properties where they put all of their focus on that side character that it makes for a great film.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the very final scene? Because I wasn't really sure what to make of it when I watched it.
I really liked it. I liked how it showed. I like how it showed, you know, Michael now and how he was before, and what it was like to have family. But I think at the same time, it showed how Michael was disconnected from his family, and he didn't think of his family even from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how also it just showed. It showed two things. It showed like, wow, how things could have been with an actual family, and two, it showed, okay, this is something that is not far off from Michael's character. Like, this is something that was foreshadowed in the beginning.
That's true. That's true.
I also liked and felt sad about Sonny introducing Carlo to Connie.
Yeah.
That was rough. Because like I said, we both love Sonny. Sonny's one of our
I
favorite
love
characters, and Carlo was his downfall, unfortunately.
Ugh, hate Carlo.
I wonder if Sonny would have had him killed as well, though. I wonder. I would be interested in like a Marvel what if of Sonny taking over the family.
I mean, yeah. I mean, his thing was he was always the impulsive one, so probably not gone very well. But he would have been more family focused for sure.
Though he wasn't as loyal to his family. I would say that's one thing about Al Pacino. There is a lot of affairs taking place in this movie, but not with Al Pacino. He's got two loves in his life. He's got his wife, and then he has his business. And probably that's so. I don't know. That could probably be seen as like, okay, yeah, he is loyal, but is he really loyal? He may not have a mistress in the female sense, but he is way more dedicated to his business.
Yeah, I mean, the first film had a little bit of like, because he was technically still with Kay when he went off to Italy and married the Italian woman.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, you know, what happens in Italy stays in Italy.
But yeah, I feel like that would have just kind of bloated the plot a little bit more. So I'm glad it didn't do that either in this film.
I just want to bring this up to talk about this real quick. The way that they get the senator, you know, they get the senator by the old, you accidentally killed a call girl. Was she actually dead? Because she takes a deep breath during that.
Does she? I didn't notice.
She takes a deep breath. I think I heard the inhale, but you definitely see the stomach rise and the blankets rise. But at the same time, I was like, wait, they knew that this was going to happen. So did they plan for this girl to die? And then also, how's this going to affect the business? Because now you have all these other girls here, and they learned that another girl died, and then it was covered up. And then I was thinking, I was like, okay, I get like Michael doing this, but now Tom's on board to have this girl killed. Like, this man has a wife, a family, and a mistress, but I don't know. That one seemed like so evilly, just so evilly done.
Yeah, I did not notice the breath of air.
Yeah, the breath, but that's when I was like, okay, so maybe she's not actually dead, because, like you say, he doesn't remember anything. So I guess they drugged him up. But
yeah,
then did they go in and kill the girl?
Are you sure that they did it?
I would think that they did it, because Michael was confident that he was going to accept his offer. So he knew something was going to happen. And he says that he doesn't remember anything. So he had to have been drugged or roofied. And he gets his drinks from the establishment. So the establishment most likely is the one that had drugged him. It just so happens to be Fredo's place. So yeah, I think it was very much planned, but it's like, so you guys just murdered this girl? But maybe maybe she is not dead. Maybe that's the way the movie telling us that she's not dead by having her take that breath.
I don't know.
I mentioned here that Michael Corleone is an anti-villain. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And how do you think the portrayal was done? Do you think it was done well? I think you agree with me that there could have been more done with it, but I still like the direction that they went with.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked something a little bit more villainous. Maybe it's just because of a runtime. I think that it for like Fredo's death didn't hit for me as much as I had wanted it to. Like, I was expecting In the first film, you had that moment, that like comeuppance moment where he's killing all the families, and you never really had that. It's very, the dynamics of the film, like even that scene it's very quiet, very kind of flat. So I was expecting something bigger, something that really shows, okay, like he's evil, but it never really happened.
If you want a good alternative and almost like a mirror, it's my ultimate favorite character ever written for a screen, which is Cersei Lannister. I think I think
until the last season.
Yeah, well, we don't count the last season. I think a lot of comparisons can be made, but again, I think Cersei stays with the family. Everything she does is for the family.
Yeah, she's a good anti-villain.
Do you think that this movie holds up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you kind of get that film grain and everything else, so it looks a little bit dated, but I think if you're okay with that, it holds up. I mean, it still looks gorgeous.
Now, how well does it hold up because you made mention of how Vito Corleone's story, yeah, during that time it was probably an original gangster story, but we've seen it we've seen it so much, and we've seen it elaborated. Does that affect how it holds up for you?
Yes. Okay. So let me go back on that. I think technically speaking, it holds up. Plot wise, I agree, but it is not as good as other gangster properties that we've had since then. But it's formative, so take what you will.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on both parts. But I would then ask, so story wise, which story do you think holds up better, the first one or the second one, part 1 or part 2?
Oh, okay. For a minute, I thought you meant either Vito or Michael's story.
No.
Part one definitely holds up better.
Yeah, I think part 1 is still, I think it has some more originality. Well, not originality, because again, part 2 is still original for its time. But I think now, if you were to bring back both films, I think part 1 is still an original and more creative property.
Agreed.
All right. Well, what would you go ahead and give this film?
So for the first Godfather, I gave that an A+. I think I'm going to go a whole letter grade down. I'm going to go B+ for this one.
All right. I can understand that. One thing I want to say is that we just did our end of the year review about that episode should come out before this one, if everything is on schedule. And I mentioned how, we were changing some of our ratings, backtracking a little bit. I would like to say first that Godfather Part 1 is going to be my S tier. I didn't give it the S tier because of this movie. But after watching this one, it made me appreciate the first one even more. And I'd say, yeah, that is an S tier film for me. And this one, I won't go down to the B grade, but I will go ahead down to A-.
I definitely feel that the first one is an S tier candidate for me. I think that with another rewatch, it could potentially be that. I really like the first one. I feel like for this one, it's hard because I want to give it lower just because it's not the first one.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, again, this is still a great sequel. I don't think this is better than the original, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm kind of disappointed to say, because I remember liking this so much more and always saying, I've said for years, like a decade now, that this is better than the first and that this is one of the greatest films ever made. But now I have to say that no, it still is one of the greatest sequels ever made, but it's not one that is better than the first.
Mm-hmm. So I am curious to hear other people's thoughts. Like, if you do think that this one's better than the first, why is that? So definitely let us know.
Yes, and if you agree with us or you think there's different reasons as to why the first is better, let us know. Because I've seen some, while doing my research, I didn't have time to watch, but I saw videos comparing, saying why Godfather is better than Part 2. Because I think that's what most people would agree, Part 2 is better than Part 1. So I think we're in the minority now. But I think...
Well, not really, because if you look at the Sight and Sound list, a lot of people put Godfather Part 1 in their favorite films, but not many people put Part 2.
Okay. All right.
So maybe we're not as much of a minority as we think.
Oh, I wanted it to be different. You know what? Part 3, greatest film of all time.
Oh, gosh. I want to watch that eventually just to see.
No, I'm good. There's been plenty of trilogies I have not finished. And that's another thing that this movie is kind of seen like the Spider-Man trilogy as well, where first is great, second one's better, third one completely falls off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is a perfect trilogy out there.
The Bourne trilogy is a great trilogy. I wouldn't say like it's perfect, but all three films are great. I would have to watch it again, but I can say I'll say confidently
I don't remember enough.
that you saw the movie like 2 years ago, right?
I know, but I don't remember. I know, but the Jeremy Renner one wasn't good.
Oh yeah, no one really even expected much of that one. Actually, we're speaking of sequels. When I went over my Hermana's house with the godchildren, their new thing was Toy Story. So I ended up rewatching all the Toy Stories again, some of them multiple times. I think I saw the first one 4 times now. And Toy Story 2, not as good as the first one, actually.
No.
I thought for a while that they just got better and better.
No.
I think the third one is debatably better than the first, but I think the second is the weakest out of the quad.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty common opinion.
Yeah, I don't know where I don't know. I guess I had my ears filtered. I thought everybody thought that the second one was better, but no, I was like, no, the second one's actually probably the weakest out of all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
The second
it's
one's
not a bad movie.
No,
but it's definitely not the same level.
It's a little all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Another trilogy. There was another trilogy, but I would say like that's still a like the second one's not bad. It's still a good movie. So, and actually the fourth one, I would say Toy Story is the only one with 4 good movies, like a good straight quad.
Yeah, the fourth one wasn't amazing, but it was a fun film. It was a good family film.
Yeah, the first 4 Harry Potters are good. I think the 5th is when it falls off for me. I know we disagree on the 3rd, and by we I mean you and the rest of the world.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I wish I loved it more because I love Quaron, but he has some films I don't like.
Yeah, we may have to do a water cooler episode one day for just sequels.
Yeah, that would be a good episode.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of some. Terminator's another one like that where the first was good, second one was great, third one, where are we going? Alien as well. Alien was good, Aliens was great, and then from there, that sucked. Prometheus was all right, and god dang, Alien Covenant, I hate that movie. That was my
I
anger.
thought people didn't like Prometheus.
Huh?
I thought people didn't like Prometheus. Or maybe I'm thinking of Covenant.
I think you're thinking of Covenant. Prometheus just wasn't what people were expecting it to be.
Gotcha.
But like they were like, it's all right, but it's not the Alien Return we thought and wanted it to be. And then Alien Covenant said, or the studio said, yeah, you got to put some aliens in there. And that movie's terrible. That movie's terrible. That's one of those movies that makes me wonder if Ridley Scott really is that great.
Okay.
But we have plenty of his movies. Have you seen Gladiator?
Yes.
Okay. I know we have Blade Runner.
I didn't know he did Gladiator.
Yeah, he did Gladiator. I know we have Blade Runner and Aliens. So we'll do those films. All right, guys. Well, that's it for Godfather Part 2. Let us know what you think. We're going to be up in HQ. And before we go into where you can find us in HQ, what do we have planned next week, Caitlin? And that's right. Usually we do say next week, and we usually mean 2 weeks ahead. But we're going weekly. HQ has pressed the green light button, and until the end of the month when we regret our decision to do this, and we go back to semi-weekly, we're going to have a film out next week for you guys, the very next Tuesday. 7 days. 7 times 24. That's how many hours we got. And then times that by another 60. And that's in minutes.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so next week, we're entering in a new year still. It's a time of year for reflections, and just looking back at, how things are going and maybe atone for some things. That's right, we're going to be watching Atonement based on the book starring Keira Knightley and James McAvoy. Thought this would be an appropriate time of year to watch this one, so I'm excited for this one. I've seen this one, but you have not, Bryant.
I have not. And wait, how did you say his name again? James what?
I think I pronounced it wrong. It's McAvoy, but I said McAvoy.
Yeah, it's McAvoy.
Yeah,
I don't know where the
pronounced it
A
wrong.
is between the M and the C. But yeah, I really like James McAvoy. He's one of my favorite actors. Probably not like in my top 5, but he's one of those actors that I always enjoy seeing.
Yeah. And Keira Knightley, of course, is a period drama princess.
Yeah, she really is. Like, she was made, like, that's one of those people that was born in the wrong time or the right time to give us these films.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I'd like to wish everyone a happy New Year's. I hope 2023 is is even better than 2022, or good depending how your 2022 went. We had a great year. If you guys want to go ahead, give us your feedback on our first year. If you want to go ahead and wish us a happy New Year's as well, and give us your thoughts on the weekly episodes. Caitlyn, where can they find us?
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at OpSilverScreen. On Facebook, we're at Operation Silver Screen, but Twitter and Instagram, that's OpSilverScreen. You can also find us on our personal letterboxes if you want to see what we're watching throughout the week, things that we're maybe not talking about on here. Mine is going to be at Coffee Spoon Kate, that's Coffee Spoon CAIT. And Bryant, you can find him at Swank Seal, that's capital S, capital S.
So, till next time, I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
I wish I had a slow door to close. But I don't, so you guys just imagine it, and right before it closes, see ya!